Selamat pagi, everyone. Thank you. Well, I think my colleagues, some of the friends from IDC, obviously Deepika has established a very strong foundation. So you heard Bakhendra, our CEO, talking about, are you ready for AI? You also heard obviously from IDC in terms of what businesses are doing, what challenges they are facing in terms of their AI journey. Then you heard also from Jan in terms of what is NTT doing to help companies innovate, transform, and accelerate their journey on AI. And most fundamentally, what he mentioned, if you captured that, was data. And I'm a big advocate of something I call as GIGO principle, right? Garbage in, garbage out. If you do not have strong data governance, if your data is not strong and it's not harmonized, it's not optimized, then you're not going to have success from AI initiatives. So what I'm going to talk about is to specifically touch upon cybersecurity aspects as to what we are doing from an entity standpoint. And the title I chose was Unlocking Real Gains from Artificial Intelligence, right? To just kind of bring a little bit more fun, so make it more real as to what we are seeing as real dividends, real gains that companies are already making, and something that we are already delivering for some organizations. So just a quick introduction, I won't spend much time, but I've been in the industry for about 23 years on cybersecurity as a practitioner. Currently I'm a business leader managing the entire cybersecurity consulting, technology solutions and managed security services landscape. And I lead the team of experts around Asia Pacific. I'm based in Singapore. Just before I get into the actual use cases and things that we believe are important for you to understand, I wanted to also spend a little bit more time. I think everybody had a story about how things are changing, from what we had steam engines, we had machines, then getting into computers, personal computers, all the anecdotes that we heard. But there is also in cybersecurity, the landscape is changing a lot. When you look at let's say from legacy-based approach to new age approach, we are seeing shifts from typical point-based solutions to platformization. And in fact, I was talking to very senior executives, CXOs of a large conglomerate in Indonesia yesterday, and similar topic came up. That there are these sporadic different tool sprawl, different technologies that organizations are using, but then you don't get that harmonized power of a single pane of glass, if I may use that cliche. You don't get that visibility, and that becomes super important for you to really harmonize and unlock the power of data, and then obviously unlock the power of signals, right? And cutting out the noise from the signals. So we are seeing platformization as a key changing landscape. We are also seeing, from a defense in depth to a zero trust approach. I may be making a controversial statement. I would actually be very bold in saying that zero trust is not a buzzword. We are seeing dividends of what zero trust can deliver across 5 key fundamental pillars, like identity, application, network, data, and systems. Across these 5 pillars, there is very significant dividends that zero trust mindset, always verify, never trust, is really delivering for organizations. Then last but not least, if I'm not going to cover all the points on this slide, we are seeing a very strategic shift about near real-time assessment of your posture. Things change a lot. I don't know if you capture, but every week, every day, there are new vulnerabilities, zero-day vulnerabilities, attacks emerging that organizations are grappling with, and hence you need to have a very clear access on data, telemetry, something that you can then make decisions on and take quick response. I don't think prevention is something which is going to save you. I think the shift in the industry is moving really dramatically towards detection and response, and more towards actually recovery, which is where I can share more as to what we do on that side. So, NTT does its own kind of research on what is happening in the global landscape. But before that, there is a very important report that came out recently from Allianz, which is a global firm. They have something called risk barometer. And cybersecurity is like the #1 risk that enterprises face today. #1, right? We all saw the second one, which is business disruption. Who likes the color blue here? I used to like it. I'm wearing a blue, but I stopped liking that color blue 3 weeks back when that blue screen of death happened in a lot of systems, right? You all remember, I'm not going to take the name of the company, the shares of that company is down by 40% if you want to buy it, up to you, because they are going to have more legal suits facing them. But the question there is that business disruption also is connected to cybersecurity from an availability standpoint, right? It was a security incident from a supply chain standpoint. What NTT does, if you know Nippon Telegraph and Telecom, NTT, right? We are not just a system integrator. Jan eloquently, kind of mentioned that, and I'm also a big advocate of that point, that we are not just a system integrator. If you look at what NTT is in terms of our global visibility, right? We are number one of the top telcos in the globe that carry global traffic. We are number one managed network services provider globally. Number two, managed security services. All that telemetry, our forensic investigations, we capture that and we create a report called Global Threat Intelligence Report. What comes out of that report is essentially key findings. And those findings, essentially, you may be knowing these findings, so it may be a bit of a resonating with what you already know, but then we are seeing clear trends emerging in terms of which are the industries that are getting hit the most. Of course, banking continues to get, kind of hit by cyber attacks, but we are seeing a lot more focus now on manufacturing, on technology companies, supply chain attacks, right? You all remember SolarWinds attack, right? You obviously saw, I'll take the name now, CrowdStrike, blue screen of death, incident that happened. These are supply chain incidents. So we are seeing a lot of incidents and attacks and cyber breaches shifting towards manufacturing companies and technology companies. And of course, things like ransomware. AI does and has the potential, and in fact is already helping some of our clients. I'll talk about that as to what the case for AI is on cybersecurity. So shifting a little bit of gears here, right? So just a bit of primer. I know somebody answered when Parkhendra asked what is GPT, right? Generative, pre-trained, transformer, right? But you need to also understand that when you look at AI in total, there are four key, there are different ways of how you can look at it, but there are four key blocks that I kind of, from a superset perspective. One is obviously AI. The second is machine learning, right? The third is deep learning, which is even more specific use case. And I would say generative AI is kind of a bit of a subset in between, right? It's right there in terms of, like we mentioned, right? Generative, it creates new, novel content. It's pre-trained, right? So it's already trained on a set of data, which is where the hallucination and the biases and all the dark side of AI that Parkhendra mentioned about. And also, more importantly, it is transformer, right? It basically can understand the context. It is conversational. It understands the context, the situational awareness. So it is more relevant and more consumable by humans, right? Exactly. If you look at this landscape, obviously this is where the AI landscape is that organizations are grappling, but there are three key blocks or pillars of AI which can be attacked or which can be compromised from a security perspective. One is your language model, your actual, so-called, if I may use the raw term, algorithms in the previous world from a small language model perspective, but basically the language model, the data, which is trained data, as well as the metadata on that trained data, right? The stored knowledge, and also the computing resources, which is where the actual processing happens. Heavy CPU, heavy memory, computing resources, storage. I think Deepika touched on that earlier as well. Main three components. With that understanding in mind, what is the threat landscape on AI? Right? One of the biggest issues that organizations are grappling with, which I think friends from IDC mentioned, was data security. Number one risk. That's the biggest inhibition to adoption of AI. And from our perspective, we are seeing, obviously it has a lot of benefits, but there are a lot of issues and challenges that organizations must be aware of so they can manage them effectively. One is malicious use. We are already seeing, you all know about ChatGPT, right? If you ask in ChatGPT, I want to attack an organization or I want to kill someone, can you give me a method? You know what ChatGPT will say? Sorry, that is an unethical question. I can't give you that answer. Why? Because someone, a developer, end of the day, remember these are applications, right? Someone has put in some rules, some guardrails, basis which that unethical question will not be answered. What if those guardrails are removed? So, I don't know if you've heard, but there is a technology already available on dark web called Worm GPT, which is actually having everything of ChatGPT with guardrails removed. Now imagine with so much of data that Jan talked about that our Gen AI engines are currently using, and if you use the attack data or so many cyber security attacks and incidents and the TTPs, the tactics, techniques and procedures, how can you improvise further? And bad guys are already using it. So the question is actually, maybe, are you AI ready? Well, if you are not AI ready, guess what? The bad guys are already AI ready. They are already using AI big time. Right? So you better be ready as to what Jan mentioned. Right? This is not the time for you to say, should I be thinking about it? You should move quickly. The second point is on data privacy and security. I think Deepika mentioned on IDC. Number one risk. Why? Because if you have to draw inferences, what do you draw inferences from? Data. Right? And data has its own, you need to consolidate data. Organizations are consolidating a lot of data, already creating data lakes or data oceans or whatever you call it, right? And that brings a lot of risk, both on data security from a confidentiality perspective and privacy. How many of you have seen in your conference calls, maybe a question I'll ask, in your conference calls, have you seen an AI note taker joining nowadays? Someone just passes on the details of the online Teams or WebEx or whatever meeting and gives it to a free cloud service to take automatic notes and say, oh, this is just my assistant, my digital assistant I'm joining. And nothing comes free in this world. Huh? Somebody stood up that service for a reason. Because all of your internal confidential conversations are being recorded by that AI note taker, which is coming from some free cloud service. I could be a CEO of that cloud service provider because I will gather a lot of information. Next time, if you see some unscrupulous AI engine joining your calls, please immediately shut it down. Unless it is authorized, right? Please do not allow, because you never know where that data is being captured. Just a key reminder. And third is obviously data poisoning, which is where all that data bias and you can actually poison the data. In fact, we are using a lot of technologies and frameworks. So I don't know if you are aware, but OWASP, the Open Web Application Security Project, actually has a top 10 model for LLMs, similar to what they have for web applications. MITRE, MITRE attack, yeah, adversarial tactics, techniques and knowledge. Sorry, too much of a mouthful. But that's the TTPs of bad guys, right? They have also come out with a framework called Atlas, Adversarial Threat Landscape for Artificial Intelligence Systems. So there are frameworks available that you can use to protect yourself. And of course, we are seeing something from World Economic Forum as well as from McKinsey in terms of what they are also predicting on cybersecurity risk. But there is a silver lining. Enough of scaremongering here, right? There is a silver lining. Two silver linings that we have seen emerge. One is AI for cybersecurity, and the second is cybersecurity for AI. So covering the AI for cybersecurity, we are seeing a huge amount of gains in terms of technologies and approaches assisting clients to drive productivity, drive efficiency. We are seeing a lot of technologies and solutions that are actually leveraging machine learning to speed up the analyst work. I mean, we used to have, I used to be a SOC analyst 21 years back. I mean, I used to work in shifts, right? Morning, day, evening shifts, you understand, right? And I understand how difficult it was back then to actually even investigate a single incident. It used to take hours, days sometimes. Nowadays, with technology, it is possible. So, a lot of organizations that we are partnering with are key partners. We are number one partners with them, solution providers. They have actually already have AI-powered engines on security, especially to improvise the triage, the security incident and all that. From a cybersecurity for AI perspective, that's where our consulting services come in. So we work with organizations to actually do assessment and advisory work on AI security governance. We heard about governance a lot of times from IDC. Right? This is critically important. How are you managing data? What are your guardrails? What are your policies? Framework to protect information that goes into your AI initiatives. Asset discovery, threat modeling. It's a different beast. I wouldn't say it's completely unique. It sits on top of your internal data and infrastructure, but it's a very new attack surface layer. So you must need to protect the AI as well, while AI is trying to protect cybersecurity on the left side, and what you see on the right side is essentially the other side. So there are silver linings available. I'll quickly jump on a few more points. From a SOC context, which is very specific to AI for cybersecurity, we are seeing, of course, challenges in terms of tool sprawl, in terms of heterogeneous data sources. We are seeing siloed data sources, and then all of these things that a typical SOC does today or is supposed to do, we are seeing that these are the things that organizations are grappling with, right? There are key challenges. In that context, there are key use cases that emerge. And those use cases are essentially mainly three main categories. I mean, I delivered a talk at ISC Square Secure Asia Pacific earlier this month in Singapore. And I think my talk is available online, so you can access that. But there I talk a lot more about use cases, mainly three major categories. One is automation, which kind of leads to a productivity increase. Augmentation, which basically helps reduce the dependence on human capital on security, which is very difficult to find. If you have more security people, please give me the CVs. We are hiring a lot more. We are expanding. And also analytics, which is again basically making things faster. Mean time to detect, mean time to respond, and things like that. So what is NTT doing to help clients on AI for cybersecurity and also for cybersecurity for AI? Like what Jan mentioned, right? We are not just a system integrator. An end-to-end portfolio, right? If I may allow you to kind of take a full view of this. We're talking about security consulting services where we do advisory and assessment work on everything to do with infrastructure, data, processes, all of the entire spectrum. Technology solutions is our key service pillar where we do technology solution design, implementation, integration, all of that, right? Managed security services is where we do manage and monitor. In fact, we do have a booth here talking about our managed detection response portfolio. So please make sure you go there and talk to Park Rifsky and our colleagues over there who can help you to understand how we are using AI for cybersecurity in that third pillar, right? Cybersecurity for AI is where we are doing 1 and 2 part. And then of course things go wrong, things can still go wrong. We do a lot of digital forensics work, which is also where we are using a lot of machine learning to speed up our forensics work. This is just a quick rundown of our consulting services. As you can see, we do a lot of work on governance, risk and compliance, security strategy, more importantly on zero trust and secure AI. We have AI security advisory services, which is basically, like I said, cybersecurity for AI approach, right? Two different approaches I can mention, cybersecurity for AI and AI for cybersecurity. AI for cybersecurity is more about tools and platforms. Cybersecurity for AI is more about consulting and advisory and assessments, which is what I think Deepika also mentioned in terms of what our clients looking for, assessments, maturity assessments you mentioned, right? And this is just a snapshot of our value propositions. We are more than happy to share these with you. These are some very simple 2-pagers which can actually help you understand what services capabilities we have, how we are helping our clients, and what outcomes we drive, and what we can deliver in terms of our expertise and experience on cybersecurity. Almost the last slide, last but one, just one more slide after this, so have a little bit more patience with me. This is just a summary slide for you to understand and appreciate that what also Jan mentioned, we are not just a system integrator. We believe in delivering outcomes, right? Whether it is about our capability on global threat intelligence, our industry partnerships. In fact, we had a very significant memorandum of understanding that we signed with Cybersecurity Agency in Singapore. End-to-end service portfolio, whether it is about NIST cybersecurity framework or zero trust model from CISA, as well as industrial control security on IEC 62443 across the entire spectrum, and obviously very, very importantly, recovery and rebuild. You're going to have cyber attacks. We will have cyber attacks. NTT has its own cyber attacks, right? We do. The question today is how are you responding to it, how are you protecting yourself, and how are you getting back to business. So we can actually, not just with security, but actually with our own end-to-end application, data, collaboration, network, and security services can bring you back into business. Of course, with our key partners, as you see here on the bottom. Takeaways. So from a security standpoint, I hope your incident response plan is not like this, right? Help. And also remember that zero trust is not a product, right? Zero trust is a paradigm shift. It's an approach. But serious talk now. The key takeaways, you must evaluate your SOC maturity independently. We can help you on those things in terms of how you can progress to improvise your SOC maturity. Make sure you review, and we have architects, we have experts, SMEs, who can actually look at your entire tool sprawl in terms of understanding how your technology is laid out, and we can get you a harmonized view so you are getting the real business outcome from your technology investments. Must understand and appreciate the risk, the total cost of ownership, and operational efficiency of your investments and security. And we can do that through our maturity assessment. We heard the word maturity assessment from IDC. We can absolutely do that. That gives you understanding where you are today, where you want to be tomorrow, and also benchmarking you with your industry peers, so that you can go back to your board and ask for the right level of investments in a pragmatic manner, right? In an objective manner. And last but not the least, please do work with trusted partners. You've seen this word emerging, trusted partner, who can really understand and deliver value to your initiatives. With that, I would just say thank you for your patience. Terima kasih, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.